The Galactic Empire's auction chamber was a sprawling coliseum of shadow and light, filled with the galaxy's most powerful, cruel, and calculating beings. The air was thick with anticipation, murmurs of rare finds, and the metallic scent of greed. In the center, bound and barely breathing, was the human boy, an anomaly, a curiosity, and an object of unimaginable value to the aliens who saw humans as relics of a primitive age. They whispered, some with disdain, others with a ravenous hunger for profit or twisted research, about the boy's rarity. A human child, fresh and alive, one bitter mused, his many eyes gleaming. A specimen worthy of the finest collectors. No one suspected the truth about the boy, or the legacy that clung to his blood. They saw only flesh and bone, fragile and small. The boy's wide eyes darted around, his body trembling, heart pounding as the gavel echoed and his fate was sealed. He was sold to the highest bidder, a cruel trader known for dealing in rare lifeforms for dark experiments. His new prison was a labyrinthine vessel, a cage in the endless void, where whispered rumors promised endless torment. The boy's mind raced, fighting despair. But beneath his fear was a flicker of something else, something strange and unexplained. Objects in the cage seemed to shift subtly, a soft hum resonated beneath the alien machinery, and the boy's breath caught when a sudden pulse of warmth coursed through him. The guards dismissed it as child's imagination. They were wrong. Far away, on a planet wrapped in perpetual twilight and ancient forests, the boy's mother felt the fracture in the cosmic web, a pulse from her son's soul that sliced through the dark corridors of space like a scream. Known across star systems as Baba Yaga, she was a living myth, a storm wrapped in flesh, feared by tyrants and rulers alike. She was human but carried in her veins the weight of forgotten power, ancient as the stars, hidden beneath legends and whispered curses. None in the Galactic Empire connected her to this small, frightened boy now trapped in their hands. Her memories were a patchwork of pain and fury. She had once fought armies with nothing but her cunning and a fierce will that burned brighter than any star. The Empire thought humans weak, ignorant of the storms they could unleash when pushed. They had no idea that Baba Yaga's blood ran through her son. She was silent now, gathering her strength, pulling threads of forbidden knowledge from the shadows, weaving a plan to snatch her child back from the maw of the Empire. In the boy's cage, loneliness gnawed at him, but it also forged a quiet steel within. The experiments began, cold instruments probing his body, alien devices scanning and probing for weaknesses, for secret. The boy endured, and slowly, with terrifying subtlety, he learned to bend his captor's perceptions. A flicker of light danced in the air at his fingertips, a whisper of heat pulsed along the bars. The guards thought him broken, submissive, but the boy's spirit was neither. His mind reached out in the void, seeking, testing the limits of a power he barely understood. Across the galaxy, Baba Yaga's eyes burned with the fire of vengeance. Her first steps were silent but deadly. Using ancient relics long hidden from the Empire, she shrouded her movements in shadows. Cloaked in stealth technology mixed with arcane force, she slipped through the Empire's defenses with the grace of a predator. Whispers of her arrival spread like wildfire, guards reported strange figures, impossible footprints, and the chilling feeling of being hunted by a ghost. Panic stirred among the lower ranks, but the higher echelons dismissed it as superstition. They had faced threats before, none were human. The boy's small acts of rebellion inside his cage grew bolder. He learned to mask his presence, to manipulate tiny energy pulses that interfered with security systems. When one guard leaned too close, a surge of electromagnetic noise scrambled the sensors and forced a retreat. The boy's defiance was subtle but unyielding, a spark waiting to become a flame. The auction's aftermath was a ripple in the Empire's vast machinery, a single pebble in an ocean of oppression. Yet, it was enough to awaken Baba Yaga's wrath. She gathered allies, exiles, outcasts, and those enslaved by the Empire's cruelty. To them, she was a symbol, a beacon of the old Earth legends reborn in cosmic fury. Together, they plotted a course not just to rescue a boy, but to remind the galaxy what humanity was capable of when cornered. She moved swiftly, a shadow passing through star systems, evading patrols and intercepting communications. Each encounter with Imperial forces ended with the enemy disoriented or shattered, their morale breaking as they whispered her name in terror. The Empire's arrogance began to crack under the pressure of a single human mother's wrath, a warning that no species could ignore. In the silent confines of his cell, the boy's senses sharpened. He could feel the threads of his mother's approach, faint but unyielding. He closed his eyes, concentrating on the faint pulse in his mind, a tether, a lifeline. Somewhere in the cold vastness of space, Baba Yaga was coming for him. His fear twisted into hope, into a stubborn will to survive. Outside, the Empire scrambled to understand the sudden disruption. Reports flooded in. Security breaches, whispered rumors of a human shadow moving with impossible speed and cunning. Some dismissed it as myth, a trick of the mind in the dark corridors of fear. But others, more cautious, began to fortify, to prepare for a reckoning they never expected. The boy's signal, a silent, desperate plea hidden in the electromagnetic static, was a beacon that pulsed through the galaxy. Baba Yaga followed it with unwavering focus, closing the distance with a storm's relentlessness. She was more than a mother, she was a force of nature, an ancient terror wrapped in flesh and fury. The moment approached when past and present, myth and reality would collide in the shadow of the Empire. The boy's fate was no longer sealed. His mother's wrath was awakening, and the galaxy was about to learn that even in the darkest corners, humanity's spirit burned bright, a wildfire impossible to extinguish. The Empire did not yet know the storm they had unleashed. The auction was only the beginning. The moment Baba Yaga stepped beyond the Empire's shadowed borders, her presence became a fracture in their ordered universe. Where once there was confidence in their control, now fear whispered through the ranks. She was no mere rebel or escaped prisoner. She was a myth reborn, a force that the galaxy's greatest war machines could not easily comprehend. Her silhouette moved like smoke, unseen but deadly, through patrols and sensor grids designed to catch even the smallest spark of rebellion. Every step she took was calculated, every move a weapon forged from centuries of survival and war. The galaxy's underbelly whispered her name in dread, Baba Yaga, the witch of old Earth legends, whose fury could bring empires to their knees. She wielded more than brute force. She manipulated alien technology with uncanny precision, twisting it to her will. Shields meant to repel were warped into traps. Communication arrays became conduits for misinformation and sabotage. The Empire's soldiers faced an enemy who could vanish before their eyes, strike where least expected, and disappear into the void. Her approach was not a frontal assault but a masterclass in chaos. Tiny strikes crippled supply lines and sabotaged infrastructure, each act sowing confusion and doubt among the Empire's forces. Enemy patrols vanished overnight, prisoners freed, alliances forged with the oppressed, her shadow stretched wide. With every victory, her legend grew, and so did the Empire's desperation. The boy's signal pulsed stronger now, a beacon guiding her through the labyrinth of steel and stars. She reached the outer defenses of the prison fortress where he was held, a sprawling nightmare of cold metal and ruthless guards. The Empire had fortified this place with layers of alien tech and merciless soldiers, convinced no one could breach its walls. They were wrong. Baba Yaga struck with precision born from a lifetime of survival. Her first move was to disrupt the surveillance arrays, silent bursts of energy that rendered cameras blind and sensors useless. The guards scrambled, their confidence faltering as unexpected alarms echoed through the fortress. She moved through shadows, bypassing traps and deadly corridors with a predator's grace. When confronted, she was merciless. Aliens who underestimated her met swift ends, overwhelmed by a storm of fury and cunning. Her combat style was a blend of primal rage and calculated strikes, a dance of death that left no room for mercy. She used the fortress's own systems against it, turning security drones into allies and triggering lockdowns that trapped enemy forces instead of her. Within the fortress, whispers spread among the prisoners and guards alike, a human woman who was more nightmare than flesh, who tore through the Empire's defenses like a force of nature. Fear and hope intertwined as captives dared to believe in rescue, while soldiers questioned their loyalty and the strength of the Empire's grip. The High Command convened in panic, their holographic chambers flickering with urgent messages and fragmented intelligence. The mother of the boy they had auctioned was no ordinary human. She was a symbol of defiance and power. Discussions turned to desperation, calls for reinforcements, pleas for negotiation, and debates over unleashing forbidden weapons. Some argued to parley, hoping to contain the threat. Others demanded total annihilation, unwilling to admit the threat of humanity's resurgence. But Baba Yaga was beyond negotiation. Her mind was a fortress of strategy and instinct, her every action designed to dismantle the Empire's control piece by piece. She forged uneasy alliances with alien dissidents, species crushed under imperial boots who saw in her a spark of rebellion worth following. Together, they became a ghost army, striking and fading into the dark. Her progress was relentless. The fortress walls, once thought impenetrable, began to crumble under the weight of her assault. Traps set by the Empire backfired, defenses collapsed, and fear spread like wildfire through the ranks. Yet the boy remained hidden, a precious secret guarded by layers of security and alien cruelty. Inside his cage, the boy sensed the storm closing in. His own abilities, fragile and raw, flickered in response to his mother's proximity. He manipulated small energies, disrupting locks and electronic barriers. Each act was a whisper of rebellion, a message to his mother that he was still alive and fighting. The Empire's forces scrambled to regroup, dispatching elite squads in a desperate attempt to halt Baba Yaga's advance. But each squad was met with calculated ambushes and traps. Her knowledge of alien technology and tactics turned the Empire's strengths into weaknesses. The human mother was rewriting the rules of engagement, proving that their greatest weapon was underestimated. The fortress was a battlefield of shadows and light, of desperation and fury. Baba Yaga pressed forward, breaking through the final barriers with a blend of brute strength and cunning strategy. Her arrival at the boy's cell was both a climax and a promise, retribution for the cruelty inflicted and a dawn of humanity's resurgence in the galaxy. As she reached the cage, the boy looked up, eyes bright with hope and unyielding spirit. Their reunion was quiet but charged with unspoken power. In that moment, the boy was no longer a victim but a symbol of a legacy that would shake the foundations of the Galactic Empire. The mother and son prepared to escape, but the battle was far from over. The Empire was reeling, its grip loosening under the weight of human wrath. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a new storm, one born of Earth's oldest legends and fueled by an unbreakable bond. The warnings were clear: humanity was no longer prey. Baba Yaga's wrath had awakened, and with it, a legacy that would challenge the very core of the Empire's power. The stage was set for a war unlike any the galaxy had seen, and the first act of that reckoning had only just begun. The walls of the fortress trembled under the relentless onslaught of Baba Yaga's fury, but the Galactic Empire's desperation birthed a new kind of resistance. Reinforcements flooded the scene, not just soldiers but elite commandos, genetically enhanced warriors, and merciless assassins sent to eradicate the human threat before it could escape. The air thickened with tension as the final phase of this cosmic conflict ignited. Baba Yaga did not falter. She adapted instantly, weaving through ambushes and counterattacks with a lethal grace born of endless battles. Each encounter was a test of will, a collision of raw human cunning and the Empire's cold precision. The fight was no longer just for a single boy but a battle for the very soul of humanity in a galaxy that had long dismissed it as weak and insignificant. The boy, now free from his cage, was no longer the frightened child who had been sold like a commodity. His eyes burned with an ancient power awakened by his mother's touch and the storm that had surged through him. His body, though small, moved with surprising strength and purpose, guided by instincts that defied the alien science used to contain him. He was the living embodiment of humanity's hidden potential, a force that the Empire had reckoned without. Together, mother and son became a whirlwind of destruction and hope. Baba Yaga's tactics blended brutal hand-to-hand combat with the mastery of alien technology she had dismantled and reprogrammed. The boy's nascent powers, energy manipulation, subtle telekinesis, and an uncanny resilience, turned the tide in unexpected ways. Their enemies, once confident, now faced a reckoning they could neither predict nor contain. The Empire's command grew frantic, deploying experimental weapons and calling in starships to bombard the fortress from orbit. Explosions rocked the structure, steel groaned, and corridors collapsed, but the human duo pressed forward, undeterred by the devastation around them. They were driven by more than survival. They were fueled by a purpose that transcended fear, the reclamation of humanity's dignity and power in a galaxy that had forgotten both. Allies emerged from the shadows. The oppressed and enslaved species, once broken by the Empire's might, rose to join Baba Yaga's cause. Together, they formed a resistance fueled by hope, vengeance, and the burning desire for freedom. This ragtag alliance moved with precision, striking at the Empire's weak points, sabotaging supply lines, and igniting rebellion on multiple fronts. The battle within the fortress became a crucible of transformation. Baba Yaga's legend grew with each victory, her name whispered in fear and reverence. The boy, now a symbol of humanity's resurgence, demonstrated powers that baffled even the most advanced alien scientists. His connection to his mother was more than familial, it was a bond of ancient strength, a force that rewrote the rules of engagement. As the Empire's hold faltered, cracks appeared in their command structure. Fear, doubt, and betrayal spread among their ranks. The once impenetrable fortress became a tomb for their arrogance, a testament to the power of a mother's love and a child's resilience. The galaxy watched as the Empire's grand design unraveled, their confidence shattered by what they had dismissed as mere myths. In the final moments, Baba Yaga and her son faced the Empire's last desperate gambit, a weapon of unimaginable power designed to annihilate all resistance in one cataclysmic strike. But humanity's spirit, forged in fire and hardship, proved stronger. They dismantled the weapon, turning its destruction against the Empire itself, a fitting end to their reign of terror. The fortress fell silent, the echoes of battle fading into history. Baba Yaga stood victorious but wary, knowing this was only the beginning of a new era. The galaxy had been awakened to the true strength of humanity, a force born of legends, nurtured by love, and unleashed with unstoppable fury. The mother and son vanished into the stars, their story a beacon for all who dared to resist oppression. The Galactic Empire, once unchallenged, was left to reckon with the legacy of a human woman known as Baba Yaga and the boy she had saved, a legacy that would inspire rebellion, ignite hope, and forever change the course of the cosmos. The galaxy had learned a harsh truth: to underestimate humanity was to invite annihilation. And Baba Yaga's wrath was only the beginning.